guys? EJ here, back with another video, and today it's going to be my weekly movie review roundup, episode 4, talking about the films that I've watched this week. Of course, with the holidays, sort of a different week. Watched a lot of old movies and just a couple new ones, so I'm going to really mainly talk about the new ones when it comes to reviewing them, but I'll talk about everything that I watched this week. So yeah, usually when I watch Netflix movies from Netflix, I get them in the mail. I watch them that night, and I send them back the next day. But for some reason, they didn't send me movies straight away last weekend, so I didn't watch anything for like 2 or 3 days last weekend. So the first movie I watched was on Tuesday, December 22nd. I watched American Ultra. I saw the trailer for this when I watched Cooties last week. Saw this trailer for American Ultra. It looked pretty interesting, so I decided to add it to my queue and got it pretty quickly. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a pretty cool film, directed by Nima Nourizadeh, starring Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart. Jesse Eisenberg plays a stoner who works at a like 7-Eleven type store, and he's actually a CIA trained assassin. And when the program that he's on is about to be terminated by Topher Grace, who works at the CIA, Jesse Eisenberg's handler, played by Connie Britton, activates Jesse Eisenberg so he can get out of the situation as all these mercenaries and killers and assassins descend on this small West Virginia town where he's living with his girlfriend, played by Kristen Stewart. So yeah, this is kind of cool film about this stoner couple. They're both really stoners. But one of them is a CIA trained assassin and doesn't know it. But of course, once he's activated, he manages to kill all these guys and get away seemingly unscathed. Yeah, it was a cool film. I enjoyed it. A little over the top in certain scenes, but Jesse Eisenberg was good. I've never been a huge fan of Kristen Stewart, but I liked her in this. She was pretty cool. Topher Grace was kind of funny. He was just yelling out orders all the time and getting into sort of really interesting arguments with Connie Britton and so on. Had some cool action scenes. Probably the best scene was when he uses a frying pan as a deflector for a bullet to kill a guy, that was a cool moment. But yeah, not a great movie, but I certainly enjoyed it. American Ultra. I gave a 7 out of 10. So December 23rd, I rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Usually I rewatch the Lord of the Rings trilogy on Christmas Eve, December 24th. But this year I moved some things around because of Star Wars, and I'll get to that later. So yeah, I rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, of course. The extended editions on DVD that I have. The only way to go to the extended editions. So of course I watched The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. I rewatch these every year. I have basically since they came out, and I always find myself still being exhilarated and amazed by these films and moved by them as well. My favorite scenes in The Fellowship are definitely the Mines of Moria sequence when Gandalf faces off against the Balrog and passes into shadow. That's such a great moment. I still remember the first time I saw that in the theater when I first saw it. That whole film is just great. Two Towers, probably most people's least favorite in the franchise, but I love all the stuff in the Rohan Kingdom. Miranda Otto is Éowyn, one of my favorite characters in the movies. All the stuff, all of her scenes I really enjoy a lot. The Battle of Helm's Deep, of course, absolutely awesome. and the Ents march on Isengard. That scene always, the music with that scene always gets to me as well. So those are my favorite moments from the Two Towers and the Return of the King. Um, yeah, just the epic battle, the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, preceded by the siege on Minas Tirith, um, and of course Sam and Frodo. Especially the scenes with Shelob. I mean, when I first saw those scenes, those are great moments. Sam is probably my favorite character, one of my favorite characters from the books, and he was definitely one of my favorite characters in the entire trilogy. Sean Astin, great as Sam. So all that stuff is great. Probably my favorite moments in the Return of the King is the ride of the Rohirrim when Theoden leads the horse charge against the battle lines of the armies of Mordor. That moment is just, it just moves me every time. And then they reform the line and charge against the Oliphants. And then of course the ending. My favorite moment probably in the entire trilogy is after the final battle at the Black Gates of Mordor, and they're crowning Aragorn king, and they have that celebration at Minas Tirith. There's a moment where everybody sort of bows to the new king, and then the four hobbits bow to Aragorn, and then he says, "You bow to no one," and then the whole crowd kneels down and bows to the four hobbits. It makes me cry every time, that moment, even thinking about it right now. It sort of welling me up. That's my favorite moment in the entire trilogy. That moment right there. So yep, over 11 hours of Lord of the Rings goodness every year, and this year I did it a day early. Okay, moving on. So yeah, Christmas Eve, December 24th, on Thursday night, I just watched a couple of short Christmas cartoons. I watched Beavis and Butthead Do Christmas from 1995, absolutely hilarious. Santa Butthead. Those are some of my favorite moments when he's reading the letters, and poor Beavis is his reindeer, and he keeps whipping him, and all the letters are from chicks who want Beavis. It's kind of hilarious. But yeah, Beavis and Butthead Do Christmas, great at Christmas time. The couple of animated episodes, Ha Ha Humbug and It's a Miserable Life, are really good as well. Yeah, Beavis and Butthead Do Christmas, just awesome. And another one I watched is A Charlie Brown Christmas, of course, from 1965, classic. It's a very sad and funny little cartoon, really, about the true meaning of Christmas. These kids put on the school play, and Charlie Brown sets out to find the perfect tree. The tree is so sad looking. I find it hilarious, especially consider the tree they want is like an aluminum tree. I've never even remembered a time where aluminum trees were a thing, but I guess they were back then. But yeah, great stuff, of course. Charlie Brown. Yeah, Charlie Brown Christmas from 1965. Okay, so Christmas Day. Usually I watch Christmas movies, and I would have watched these two things on Christmas Day, but like I said, because of Star Wars, I rewatched the original Star Wars trilogy, of course. The first one, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Star Wars, the first one, is probably still my all-time favorite Star Wars film. Yeah, I just love everything about it. Just, I remember when I first saw it as a kid, being transported to that world and that mythology, and of course all the great characters. A lot of people say Empire is their favorite. I love the beginning of Empire, of course, the battle on the ice planet Hoth with the AT walkers and all that kind of stuff. But the middle part of The Empire Strikes Back, I've always had a problem with the scenes with Luke and Yoda in the Dagobah system. I always just kind of find them boring. And the ending, of course, everybody loves the ending, the climactic fight with Darth Vader, and Luke, and of course Luke finds out his true identity and all that kind of stuff. I've always had a very soft spot for Return of the Jedi. I know a lot of people sort of slam the Ewoks, but I remember as a kid, Jedi was. I'm gonna probably say that Jedi is my second favorite, and I like it more than Empire. That might be blasphemous to most people, but I've always sort of felt that with Jedi. Um, the main reason is I love the stuff on Tatooine with Jabba the Hutt and the Sarlacc pit, and of course Boba Fett and all that kind of stuff. Luke and Leia and Lando rescuing Han from the carbonite, um, and then of course, like I said, the Ewoks. When I was a kid, I enjoyed the Ewoks. I mean, who didn't? Now they're considered kind of silly, sort of in the Jar Jar Binks vein, but yeah, the Ewoks don't bother me that much really, and I like the scenes on Endor, the battle in the forest with the AT-ST walkers, and I've always liked that battle. I love the speeder bike chase as well. In the I think was shot up in the National Sequoia Forest here in California. A lot of those scenes were, yeah, the speeder bikes were always like one of my favorite vehicles from the Star Wars universe. Um, and of course, you have the climactic showdown with Luke and the Emperor and Darth Vader. That's a great scene in of itself, and it's probably the best, in my opinion, the best dramatic scene of the early Star Wars trilogy. So, of course, why did I watch Star Wars on Christmas? Christmas Day, Christmas night, because yesterday, of course, I got this for Christmas. Very cool. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Yesterday, me, my sister, and my brother-in-law, we all went to go see Star Wars: The Force Awakens in IMAX 3D on Boxing Day. Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect going. I kind of had a feeling this would be better than the prequel trilogy, and it was. It clearly was. I thought it was fantastic. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. J.J. Abrams, of course, directed it. Um, Let me get to the new cast members. I thought Daisy Ridley was fantastic as Rey. Very very funny, very sort of spunky and resourceful. I mean, she's this poor scavenger on Jakku and just trying to scrounge for a bit of food, and then of course she runs into Finn, the the former stormtrooper who sort of shuns the First Order and goes rogue and escapes, helps a rebel pilot or a resistance pilot, Poe Dameron, is that Poe Dameron? Yeah, played by Oscar Isaac. Yeah, I thought John Boyega was great as Finn. I will say one of my favorite things about the movie was the fact that they humanized a stormtrooper. It's the first time they've really done that. Growing up, I mean, that's why the stormtroopers have always been an interesting character to me. They're just these sort of faceless mercenaries who kill for the Empire, and I always thought it would be very interesting to sort of go deeper with just one stormtrooper, and they did that in this film, and that's why I really appreciated they did that. They sort of made Finn a real central part of the story. Of course, the biggest fun of this movie was seeing all the old faces when Han and Chewbacca show up. I mean, people in the theater cheered. Actually, they cheered every time one of the old faces showed up. So of course, when we get a brief glimpse of R2-D2 and Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. I won't spoil anything. I'll try not to spoil anything, but of course, when we finally see Luke, all I'll say about Luke at the end is he looked badass. That's all I'm going to say about Luke. Mark Hamill just looked badass, and I can't wait for the second installment. Like I said, I thought Daisy Ridley was fantastic throughout the movie. She really carried the movie. She was great. Kylo Ren, played by Adam Driver, was terrific. I thought a really interesting storyline with him, and of course, who his father is and all that kind of stuff. What's kind of interesting is we're not going to even see those moments of how he became Kylo Ren. Um, Maybe we will with the Han Solo spin-off movie. But yeah, I thought Kylo Ren was a great villain. I did want to see more of Captain. Was it Phasma or Plasma or something? Whatever her name was. The captain of the stormtroopers who was Finn's boss. Because I could tell, like, hearing the voice, I didn't know who the actor was. I was like, that's Brienne from Game of Thrones doing that voice. I was kind of hoping at one point she'd take the mask off and we'd see Brienne from Game of Thrones. I was like, that's definitely her. Um, and a lot of things I loved about this film was how real it felt. It felt a lot more, the whole world felt a lot more lived in. I loved all the sort of ruined ships in the desert and stuff. All that stuff was really cool. All the sort of gags, especially with the Millennium Falcon. When we first revealed the Millennium Falcon, that's a great moment when Finn and Rey are running towards the ship, and they're like, "No, that's garbage." And the ship they're running to gets blown up, and then we see the Millennium Falcon. Okay, we'll use the garbage ship. That was really cool. And when she first pilots the Millennium Falcon, that whole chase sequence is just fantastic. Yeah, I will say it's a great looking movie. A lot better looking than the prequel films, even though those films were full of CGI. Even though this film has CGI, I felt this film was a lot better looking movie than those three movies. It just felt a lot more real, a lot more lived in, the whole universe. Those felt very fake and plastic, and it didn't have the same problems that the prequel trilogy did, especially with the dialogue and the banter. That's what like Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher bring back to this film, is sort of the back and forth between that. I didn't hate the new characters as well. I mean, like I said, Daisy Ridley and John Boyega as Finn and Rey were terrific. And BB-8 was fantastic. I can't go on without mentioning BB-8. Just a great little droid. So many cool things. The way he like flipped himself around, like when they're in the Millennium Falcon, and he's like going all over the place, very fast, and when they're getting chased, and he's like speeding along the ground. I love the fact that he kind of looks like a soccer ball as well. That's what's really cool about BB-8, and also like the way he talked. It was a lot more interesting and sort of more easier to understand than R2-D2. That's kind of the way I feel about. I've always felt this way about R2-D2. Is yeah, it's cute, and he makes these beep beep boop 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 sounds, and I never sort of imagined what he was saying at the time. With BB-8, it was a little different. I could sort of understand what he was saying every time he did his little beep beep boop or whatever. There was kind of a big difference, I thought, between those two. I mean, everybody loves R2-D2. How can you not? But yeah, even seeing C-3PO again was great. Chewbacca was great. The stuff with yeah, him and Han Solo, fantastic ending. A great ending for a great character. I will say it was ballsy what they did with his character. It takes a lot of guts to do that to one of the most beloved film characters of all time, and they did it really well. And I pretty much, I will say I've heard a lot of complaints that this is too much like A New Hope, which is fine. I don't care. And yes, the Star Killer did sort of feel like a little bit like a third Death Star, if you like. But hey, that's what the the Galactic Empire are into in the First Order: killing planets, destroying planets in one fell swoop. So really, not much of a surprise. But it took like elements of the best Star Wars movies and made it into a great movie. I thought way better than the prequel trilogy, and I can't wait to see the upcoming films. And yeah, I enjoyed the new cast members immensely. Yeah, Oscar Isaac. Haven't talked about him enough. He was great as Poe. Yeah, it was just a great fun film. Really enjoyed it from beginning to end. Yeah, I was not disappointed at all with the new Star Wars film. So those are the films I've seen this week with my thoughts on the new Star Wars film. Thank you for watching as always, and until next time, I'll see you.
Bond. James Bond.